Good. How are you?
Good, man. Back to work. It's work week. Ole Miss week. Really good football team. There's a reason why they're number one in the country. Okay, or 3 or 2 or whatever they are. Let me tell you, once you get above 5, you're pretty good. Here's what I'll say: Hugh Freeze, great man, even better coach. He's done a terrific job at Ole Miss in terms of recruiting and building that program, and have a lot of respect for him. He talked to me last year, and we spent a little time together before the game, and after the game, he just told me, just keep doing what I'm doing. So, he's been a good friend through this, and I like exactly who he is and what he represents. He's got an even more talented football team. They're talented, they're deep, and they do a really good job just playing football. They don't beat themselves. And the biggest stat that stood out to me is that they've outscored their opponents 58-0 in the first quarter. So, they start fast. And our football team is definitely going to focus and concentrate on what we do. We're going to try to do what we do well, and try to play against a really good football team. But our guys are excited. They're up to the challenge. These are the games that you live for. These are the big games. And I love nothing more than big games. And our football team wants to play this game as much as they want to play any, because it's the game of the week. So let's get ready to ride. So if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them out to me.
Did you see any scenario where they're on the cover of Sports Illustrated today, the number 3 in the country, they're the kind of top college football? Did you foresee this type of Ole Miss team back a few months ago?
Having played this Ole Miss team, they're a good football team. Wherever they were ranked preseason, I don't know if it really did it justice. But in watching the game last week, what you had a chance to see was a football team that was prepared to go into hostile territory and play a great game. They didn't beat themselves. They gave themselves an opportunity to win. And that's a well-coached team. That's a talented football team. And they're well-deserving of the ranking.
When you talk about their first quarter points for and against, as you look at them on film, are they really tailored game plan-wise to their opponent, or they start out in their base stuff and execute it really well?
I think they just execute really well and do what they do. That's the strength of who they are. They're going to play great defense. They have athletes up front. They have menacing guys on the back end that hunt the football. So they do a good job taking the ball away, and they tackle well. And that's a sign of a good defense. Offensively, they've just been really efficient. They've done a really good job of not getting themselves in long third down situations and staying ahead of the chains. And that's what you have to do. Any time you're playing tight ball games, you got to stay on track, and that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to stay on track. We're going to have to play great defense, be really good on special teams, and make sure that we give ourselves a chance.
Have you or do you bring that up to your team of this is what Ole Miss does? We need to do this in the first quarter.
I don't worry about Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a team that we have to scheme and look at and see where their strengths are, see where their weaknesses are, if any. And for us, what we have to do is worry about the ball that we play, how we tackle, how we align, how we play special teams, do we take care of the football? Those are the things that have to show up for us.
How difficult is it to defend against their tempo? Hugh Freeze is known for getting quick. As a defensive coordinator, Ryan, how do you knock that back and try to stop them?
You practice. You practice tempo. You go through your tempo mechanics. You understand that getting lined up is the biggest part of what tempo is about. It's to get you rattled in terms of your defensive play calling, and what we have to do is make sure that we get our guys lined up. Last year, I look at last year's game, we never got lined up. When you don't get lined up, you can't play football. So the biggest thing that we're going to do is make sure our guys get lined up. This isn't the first time we play tempo. So what we need to continue to do is make sure that we talk about communication, getting lined up, tackling. If we do those things, you give yourself a chance to play really good defense.
Have you been good pre-snap on defense most times this season? Has alignment been an issue?
Alignment has not been an issue. The only time it's an issue is if teams are going slow and fast, and I'm looking at the formations and I want to make a late call or I'm trying to change the call. But tempo, we practice tempo since last spring, so it's really nothing new. And Andy has shown us some different tempo looks throughout camp. So for us, it's just a staple of what we do. We get lined up. We got to play fast. The biggest thing for us is just depth. You got to make sure that you continue to develop depth, have depth in a game like this, because the plays come fast. They're going to try to push the number count in the first half, which is what they do. The tempo comes at you, and what you have to make sure you do is get fresh bodies in series after series.
Does it frustrate you as a defensive play caller that you're taken out of it a little bit when there's hurry up, that you don't get to make as many decisions?
I do. Just like their offensive coordinator is making decisions, I'm making decisions too. I have my play call list, and we have a lot of different ways, man, that we call signals. So it's not a one-way system to call signals. We have 3 or 4 different ways to call signals. Some of it's through pictures, some of it's through wristbands, some of it's through us, just being able to direct signal, and some of it's just, auditory. So for us, it's going to be quick, it's going to be fast. We've practiced it, we understand it. It's nothing new. This is my first rodeo with tempo, so we're just going to line up, try to play fast, be physical, and make sure we tackle.
So no matter how fast they go, you can get a different call, and you're not going to be
Every
stuck.
time.
You're not going to be stuck in the same call play after play.
I'm not going to be stuck in the same call play after play, and that's the whole idea of what they do. And they want to make sure that you're paralyzed in 1 or 2 calls, and that's not the way we're built. So it's going to go fast, and we're going to go fast.
Was there a team that taught you that early on, in Oregon maybe?
Absolutely. This is something that I learned a long time ago, maybe about four years ago, and it's definitely about having a plan. You have to have a tempo plan. And granted, some of these teams across the country, not speaking to Ole Miss, but some of these teams are looking to steal signals. So you have to have different ways of signaling so that it changes and it varies. If they want to try to look at signals, we're gonna change wristbands every quarter. So good luck trying to figure out exactly what our signals are. So that's not going to happen. And so we're going to have different ways to make sure that we move it around so that our guys can get lined up and play fast without us getting skunked.
Derek, you talked about being lined up and everything better this year. What do you attribute that to? Is that you taking over the defense? Is that year 2 in a different scheme? How do you figure what's the cause of the improvement?
Starting with a simple base of what you do and having the guys understand the structure of what we do defensively. I truly believe if you start simple and then you build on that. And so we started this season simple. I told you last spring we only had 4 defensive calls. 4 base, 4 nickel, that's all we had. Now it's much higher than that, and our guys can handle more volume, but it's sort of a crawl before you can walk mentality. As they show they can handle it, we give them a little more. And with that, we found that our guys are starting to take hold of the fundamental things that we're giving them, and we can build on them.
A couple of notable absences on your depth chart: DeAndre Woods and Nigel Bowden. What's the deal on both those guys?
Nigel had a concussion. He's been out, and as soon as he comes through the other side of protocol, we'll get him back. But as of right now, he's doubtful for this game. And DeAndre Woods is done for the season. He tore his ACL, and with that, we lose a really good tight end who's really starting to come into his own. So with that being the case, our guys, again, it comes back to adapt and adjust. Our guys are always looking to cheer our guys on and make sure our guys understand that they do have family around them. When these things happen, by the same token, the season presses on. So next man up.
Woods had the big play that sort of got the offense going the other night. Is that kind of what you envisioned for him? What he still can be? When he comes on the other side of this injury, a big play guy like that.
Yeah, DeAndre, and he's done a great job of building these guys and building on their skill sets. And DeAndre was just one who was just starting to come into his own. We saw some really good things out of DeAndre. He was starting to be a factor in our offense, a target that was dependable. And with that, again, next man up, and we have to move to the next guy. But I think when he comes back, he's going to be a really good player.
Is Shoei back this week then?
Shoei's back this week.
Even more imperative then that you get some plays out of Shoei and Nathan with DeAndre out.
Yeah, Shoei, Nathan, Darius Sims. Again, it's got to be a balance of guys all the way around. And I think that's what you're starting to see more of offensively, just more balance. More guys touching the ball, more guys having opportunities, and the ball going to the guys that are open.
Nigel's concussion, when did that happen?
It happened not in this past game, but the Georgia game.
You've been very patient with Johnny. How critical is that maybe when you've got a young quarterback to be patient with him, to help him get through some of the growing pains early in a season?
It's important. Confidence is important. For us, it's not an overnight process, and so what you have to do is continually refine what you see and what you do. We all look to have a growth mindset. I need to have a growth mindset as a head coach. These guys need to have growth mindsets as players, and what we continually talk about is just making sure that we handle the details, we fix the minute things that make a difference in how we play, and I think Johnny's doing a pretty good job of trying to work towards that.
Is his demeanor built for a guy that can succeed on the road? He seems kind of, seems like he would handle that okay. He did last year, I know, at Missouri.
He handles everything well. Johnny's not an up and down guy. Andy will tell you that. Johnny's a guy who takes it, how it comes, the good, the bad. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, and I think it's perfect for that position when you're trying to lead a football team, especially when you're going into a hostile environment. For us, it's a hostile environment, and you're going to need a guy who's really unflappable, who wants to be in the moment, but more than anything else, a guy who can calm people down. And Johnny, can. He's shown me and his teammates, especially with the play on the road last year versus Missouri, that he can handle being in a hostile environment.
Granted the competition was on P, but you like maybe the way that the offense came together, obviously produced a lot of points and yards, etc. But is that maybe a good test as you now head into a hostile environment?
For us, it's a confidence building. Again, we needed to have some success. We had some success, and now what you get a chance to do is go on the road and play against arguably one of the best teams in the country in a place where it's probably going to be tough for us to have instant success. But here's what you do. Football's a 60-minute game, and that's what we want to play. We want to play a 60-minute game. We want to have a clean first quarter, then a clean second quarter. We'll talk about halftime adjustments, and then we'll come out and play third and fourth quarter, and let's see where the chips fall.
Stephen Weatherly, a guy who came on strong last year, second in team tackles for loss, fourth in tackles this year. What sort of progression have you seen the last 2 years with him?
Active, athletic, just waiting, for his time. This defense moves around a lot, and a lot of different guys are going to show up from week to week with opportunities to make plays. Stephen's just trying to do his job right now, and I think in that we're getting the production that we want. We're getting off the field, and I think as long as we continue to get off the field, these guys are more worried about team, unit defense, and what it looks like, and not the individual accolades. So I like his progression. A year ago, he just wanted to make plays. Now he's not worried about making plays. He's worried about getting his defense off the field, and that's what a leader does. He controls what we're doing out there, and Steven's doing a terrific job. So I like where he's at right now.
Is there anything that you changed or you learned from year one of how to handle a road trip or change the routine or anything like that?
Yeah, just treat it like another game. That's where football players look for constants. They have to have consistency. And the biggest thing about what a coach can provide for you is consistency. Consistency of schedule. Now, granted, it's our first time going on the road, but we're going to treat it no different than we do when we're at home in terms of hopefully getting a movie on Friday night, getting you a chance to go through a 30-minute a pregame opponent viewing, just to tape, just to make sure that we understand what our adjustments are, a clap session just to make sure guys can move around, make all our adjustments, then we'll go play, and that's on both sides of the ball. So I think consistency of schedule is important.
Do you see that easier this year? Because last year, first road trip, how does the new coach handle it? You're looking at a lot of young players. Is it different this year?
I think so, because in being around me, these guys know I don't change a whole lot. I'm rough every day, so that's a good thing for us. This young football team that continues to get better, and they know and understand. Just do the work that we ask you to do, and we're going to try to put you in position, but the work's got to be done. Play for one another, be smart, and let's be a physical football team. Let the chips fall where they may.
Two more questions.
How good can Trent Sherfield be?
I'm not going to put a cap on it. I think he has a chance to be pretty good, but that's all about the everyday work that you put in. But one thing about Trent that I've seen is that he never slows down. He works hard every day, so I don't know where it's going to take him, but I know it's going to take him to a good place. I don't know where the end point is, and hopefully he just keeps growing.
Derek, you have another challenge, Robert Condici. What's the challenge when you're facing a guy like that?
Yeah, ultra talented. When I look at Kendiche, he's all over the place. He plays hard. He's relentless. He's a two-way player. They find ways to get him touches on both sides of the ball. It's hard to block him one-on-one, and he's just a good football player. In terms of trying to slow him down, the only thing that I can speak to is that you just got to play. You got to play the game with him, which means that you got to scheme around him at times. Sometimes you got to go at him. Sometimes you got to try to take him out of the equation, and that's with some misdirection and some things to try to help move his eyes. But the thing he's shown is that for him, he's big in the moment. So it's a tall task to try to slow down one guy. It's like trying to slow down Reggie White. The only thing that you do is line up, play football, and understand that he's there, and we got to line up and try to find a way to move him and get him out of the way.
What about their quarterback, coach? What did Chad Kelly show you against Alabama?
Tough as nails. He didn't flinch, and that's important. Hugh Freeze has found himself a really good quarterback. I think coach, quarterback, those things are sort of tied together, and he's much like his coach. He's got a lot of confidence in himself. He's done a really good job of distributing the football. He stayed away from the mistakes, and really he knows his personnel. So I see why he's a starter, and I like what he is. He's a competitor.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.